So here is the agenda for today's meeting, November 17th. This is meeting number 6, and we're going to talk about discuss the truck incentive measure and some ideas for outreach, and Janine will help us with that discussion. Any questions before we get started? If not, then I'm going to switch it to Janine, and when I switch it, I'm going to also share on my screen a Jamboard so that when we start our discussions, I will go ahead and take notes. Janine, all yours.
Okay, thank you, Zhang. So one of the things that we've been discussing in this committee in the past meetings has been a very strong desire to assist with the smaller single owner operators, the smaller fleets in the community, those that have multiple struggles and are facing a variety of different challenges in the trucking sector. And while we have had those discussions, we've also talked about the challenge with the final compliance date on truck and bus being in just a matter of weeks now, and that the funding opportunities for 2009 and older diesel trucks are really little to none at this point. 2010 compliant diesel trucks to replace with zero emission or near zero emission is currently available funding in our existing truck program. So one of the things that we were trying to kind of brainstorm is other ways we can approach this target group that the committee has expressed a desire to really focus on. And I wanted to kind of put out there for thought and discussion, looking at some enhanced outreach to local businesses within the community that have trucking as part of their business profile. So there's lots of different types that would fall into this, but we're typically speaking of our smaller weight category trucks, still subject to the regulation, still being forced to change out trucks, and in some cases may have already changed out trucks. But this would be typically our class 4, 5, and 6 delivery style vehicles that are owned and operated by businesses within the community or bordering the community. So a few examples would be something as small as a furniture store that has a delivery truck, maybe a local moving company that doesn't do long distance moving of residential items, but in town moving. This could even be something like FedEx. Now, while that's not a small business, FedEx does subcontract out to local haulers. And I don't know, I just recently learned this one when we got an application in for a subcontractor. But if you watch the FedEx trucks, the ones that are designed with green and purple logos are independently owned operators for FedEx. The purple and orange trucks are owned by FedEx directly. And so this was an opportunity that kind of we learned about just by accident when one of them applied to the program a few months back to replace their current diesel truck with a zero emission electric truck. So these are opportunities that we might be able to do a little enhanced outreach to make them aware of the program, make them aware of the funding. And it's also a sector that will likely have 2010 compliant diesel trucks already. The lifespan of the smaller trucks is a bit less than your very large class 7 and 8 long haul trucks. They do travel less miles, but those miles are super concentrated within the communities, oftentimes in the neighborhoods themselves. So we thought this might be a great one to bring up for some discussion and some additional thought of trying to target those local businesses that do have some trucks and seeing if we can't help them to move from their current diesel truck into a zero emission or near zero emission vehicle. And with that, we could actually use our existing program and not have to write a plan to send a CARB, or if the community decides that they want something a little above and beyond the existing program, then we could always go through that exercise as well. But I think this is a target group that has historically not had as much funding opportunities. They have not been targeted as much in outreach efforts in years past. So it is definitely one that would keep the dollars local, could directly benefit the residents of the community, as those trucks are operating mostly within the community. So wanted to put that out there and open it up to any discussions. I know we have such a small group tonight, so it may be something to just kind of keep in the pocket and discuss in the next meeting with more folks. But I'll kind of pause there in case, Cynthia, in case you have any thoughts or comments on that, or even Brian or Eric.
Yeah, thanks. That was helpful information. Can you repeat again the different colors that you said?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So I know it's kind of neat when you'll start noticing them now. So purple and green are subcontractors. So those are typically owned by individual owner operators. And they contract to haul for FedEx. So those are going to be more frequently seen driving through the neighborhoods. They're a little bit smaller than the larger FedEx trucks. The ones we funded were class, I think they were class 5 or 6. So they're right in that category. And then the purple and orange logoed trucks are owned by FedEx.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I don't think I have any other ideas besides what I've mentioned in like other previous meetings, but I think that's a good call, Janine, to keep this conversation kind of open for next time, and maybe we can do some recruiting with the larger steering committee when we reconvene in January, right? Because there's no December meeting.
Yeah. December's such a tough month. There's truncated working days, and everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people are on holiday. So December tends to be a tough month. If there was a strong desire or need, we could put a December meeting, but I think it'll be very hard to find a date that is, open to a lot of the people. So yeah. So, with this idea, it would really be utilizing the existing program and focusing some stronger efforts on reaching those businesses and those operators within the community, to see, how many we could potentially get. Now, one of the interesting things with the smaller weight category too is the electric technology has been deployed in that weight category for several years now. So it's a little bit more advanced technology. Well, I shouldn't say advanced technology. It's a little bit more well-accepted technology because it has been out on the road longer. I think the first UPS trucks that we funded that were electric was 5 or 6 years ago. They are less complicated chassis, and so they tend to adapt to the advanced technology a little bit easier. And so that definitely would make it an easier option to fund. Also, we do have money for infrastructure, and that could be in those outreach efforts. We can definitely communicate kind of like a package deal where, hey, if you want to replace your diesel truck for an electric, we will also get you on application for charging infrastructure at your facility. And since the typical operation of those trucks is always coming back to home base, coming and going from home base, it makes it for a very realistic transition to an electric vehicle. So I think that might also be a good way to help promote the infrastructure, the heavy duty infrastructure measure as well.
Janine, did you want to go to the second question or
yeah, what's the second question?
It's more about outreach.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we've kind of talked about this, and You know, this is an approach that we probably could have a multifaceted angle to. Obviously, CBOs in the community could assist with this. The district can utilize various means. We've got our listserv, where we can send out email blasts with information targeting local businesses. And I think we could probably also reach out to the trucking associations to see if they can help disseminate information to their members that might be within those boundaries and operating within those types of parameters. So I think there's a lot of different opportunities here for varied outreach efforts, kind of on the ground level, and then from a little bit different angle, utilizing some of the associated business agencies like the Trucking Association and things of that nature. So Cynthia, did you have any thoughts or comments on outreach efforts?
Yeah, have you all tried like the local like radio station or like news stations to maybe like promote some of that stuff? I know
Yeah,
folks listen to their local radio stations and get their like local news that way too.
yeah, for sure. We have done that in the past. I don't think we've run any campaigns recently in the last year, but in the past we have done, for trucks in particular, we have done what is it called, John? It's a news alert, the thing that they send to the news station. Sorry, I'm not in outreach, but we have done those media alerts where we've asked the local TV stations to, you know, give an announcement about the program and availability to truck owners. We also have done a lot of different radio in both English and Spanish radio stations. So that is definitely something else that we can circle back to and target for that area.
Press releases, probably.
Press release, thank you. It's
No
late in the
problem.
day. My brain couldn't get the right words out.
No, you got it right, though. Janine, just wanted to follow up on what Janine shared. Yes, we do send out press releases both in English and Spanish to a lot of the local media on events and programs. So, but if there is a particular media outlet that, you know, may not be well known, but it is definitely in the community, please let us know. You know, usually most of the major TV stations and newspapers, we, you know, will blanket with the press releases, but please, you know, let us know if there's anything or anyone in particular that you feel that we should definitely touch base with, then we would welcome that contact.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Eric. Is it normally just like mailers that go out for an incentive outreach to like target specific businesses, or
Yeah, you know, we've done a lot of different things. We can do mailers. Mailers are a little tricky because we would have to either get, and that's where working with like a trucking association can be helpful, because they would have address information for the fleets. And we have, in years way back when Proposition 1B started, utilized those agencies to disseminate like a flyer or a, you know, a mailer of some kind out to their members. It can also be, if we did through media, news/radio, obviously that would just be an announcement of some kind. And it would direct them then back to the district's webpage where we would have information posted for them. So, and now I guess we also have the option of social media, because we have run many campaigns on social media for our different grant programs. Those usually are targeting more of our residential programs, not necessarily to businesses, but, and Jean can shut me down if I'm overstepping here, but, you know, I think that's something we could also talk to our outreach team about, because there's a lot of people that are on social media that own the businesses or might work for the company and say, hey, I saw this on my Facebook feed, maybe we should look into it. So that could definitely be another approach that we utilize to just reach people within the community.
No, you're right, Janine. We do have a social media presence, and we do oftentimes share things as well as post little nuggets on our different programs and highlight them. But if there, is a particular like company or business that is doing something really well, that you feel that we should definitely highlight, please let us know, because that will also help us get the word out more. But for the most part, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as of right now, depending upon what happens to Twitter. Who knows how long that will last? But and I think am I missing one? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I feel like I'm missing one more, but for the most part, we're on all the social media platforms.
I feel like this is a really fast moving meeting because we're such a small group tonight, but Cynthia, by all means, if there's any other thoughts or ideas that that you want to bring up tonight, don't hesitate to just jump in and let us know.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I was hoping to be able to kind of feed off some of other folks' ideas as well.
Yeah.
But no worries. Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah.
I can look to see if maybe our truckers database, if we're allowed to extract out just like Stockton only addresses.
Eric, in the past, the district has been able to obtain that information from CARB, although it was valley-wide, but I would imagine that, you could narrow down the search criteria or just provide a valley-wide list, and then we narrow it down based on address. One of the things, though, and I didn't jump to mention this particular topic right away, is that the smaller weight class trucks did not have the same reporting requirements as the larger fleets. So some of them may not be in truckers. A lot of them may not be in truckers if they only have class 4, 5, 6 trucks, because their replacement schedule was very different. And so while many of them might go in, well, no, even if they only had model year schedule, they had no regulation requirement to report. It would only be if they had some other issue and were forced into truckers, either for grant funding, because a lot of the grant funds will say, well, you got to put yourself in truckers. So that we might see just a small number, but could still be very useful in getting things going.
Yeah, I'm also curious. I mean, I know there's a lot of confidentiality with the license plate reader, but there might be a way that we can just identify company names and without giving away other stuff.
Yeah.
Because we did deploy it recently and can do it again.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But there's a lot of confidentiality along with that one.
I know. Like,
so we have treading lightly.
Yeah, we have DMV database access, but it comes with some really strict confidentiality requirements. So I'm not even going to offer that one up, because I already know, like, anything that we view in there has to remain confidential, and it's only allowed to be viewed by certain people here at the district, and then they can answer our questions like, yes, it has a valid registration, or no, it doesn't. But beyond that, we're not able to extract any information or really use any specific information outside of just viewing it and confirming validity of registration. So I can imagine that anything tied to those types of activities will be very similarly locked down very tightly.
Right.
Yeah. But, I think there are other ways too. I mean, we could always look at, we could always connect with our compliance and our permit departments to see what businesses, and then it's kind of tricky because you kind of got to go, well, does this business type sound like it might have a truck? And, we could just get a list of businesses in the areas. And even if we don't know if they have trucks or not, just send them out a mailer, kind of like really broad reaching attempt, but it definitely could be, all it needs to do is get in the hands of the right people. Or, a lot of times businesses know each other, and one business might hear about it or get it and say, hey, my buddy down the street could use this. So sometimes just that word of mouth, you get started in getting the information out there, and then it takes on a life of its own and starts disseminating on, a word of mouth process. So we could also look at that, just utilizing some of our other departments' entity lists for the area to try to target some of those businesses.
Yeah, thanks, Janine. Is this Jamboard going to be available to like add on later on in case we come up with like other ideas, or I could try to share it around with some other Stockton folks and see if they have any ideas?
Yeah, I think that, well, I shouldn't say that. Jean, why don't you answer that question? Because you're in charge of the Jamboard.
And I will be honest, I'm not a expert on Jamboards. I've only done this a couple times. I believe I should be able to share it, but I will do my best to share with the CC. I cannot make a promise, but it's not like I'm trying to hide it or anything. It's just I want to make sure I can get it to you. But if nothing else, we can definitely, post. These are the same questions that are on the agenda. So if you want to share, actually, why don't we do that? Because just in case I can't share the Jamboard, if you want to take these questions right here and share those questions with the community and let them know that they can submit feedback to us and answer those questions, we will definitely, capture those feedback and put it in the Jamboard, just in case I can't share the Jamboard itself.
And if we're not able to get the Jamboard out successfully, then we will definitely resurrect it on the next meeting and revisit these questions so that there's an opportunity for a larger discussion and additional ideas to be presented. Okay, great. Do we want to go ahead, Jean? Do we want to move to the next item? Is there anything anybody else would like to discuss or add to the outreach conversation?
All I can think of is cold calls and door to door, like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really the next thing is like a grassroots outreach where, and maybe that's something that CBO could apply for one of our mini grants to carry out. That might be something to consider for CBO in the community, to apply for one of our mini grants and execute kind of a grassroots, boots on the ground, door to door to businesses, to hand out a flyer, make some connections, get people, stir up the pot, so to speak. So, all right. So the last bit is really not anything I'm going to present a whole lot of information on, but I wanted to just drop a seed because this is something that's coming up and it is going to affect the same group that we're looking to help. So there is a heavy duty inspection and maintenance regulation that is going to start taking effect very soon. And please, CARB staff, correct me if I'm wrong, but it starts January 2023. So right when the truck and bus ends, this starts, right?
This is like the furthest thing from what I know. Unfortunately, I know heavy duty IAM's phasing in soon. I don't know if Eric knows the exact date, but I can look it up and send it to you.
Okay. No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I got CARB's fact sheet up here. Oh. I scrolled down a page and it says program requirements in bold, like shouty. Program requirements starting in January 2023. So for Cynthia, what this is essentially like what we are already used to on our passenger vehicles, like a smog check. What CARB has found through several years of research is that the emission control systems on the truck get tired and don't work right. And oftentimes people don't get them fixed. They bypass them, they circumvent them, and now the truck is not operating at the clean level that the regulation anticipated, but at a much dirtier level. So while they may be in compliance, they're still polluting heavily within the communities. So this particular regulation is to help address that, and it will essentially create a smog check program, if you want to call it that, for heavy duty trucks, very similar to what we already experience with passenger vehicles. So a few years back, the district participated with CARB in a pilot program to create an incentive program to assist with repair. We already have this model in light duty vehicles. It's our Drive Clean in the San Joaquin repair component. And folks that fail their smog test can get financial assistance to make the necessary emission control system repairs. So this is going to be a thing with heavy duty trucks now also. I'm not super up to date on it, so that's why I don't want to go into too much detail, but I think it's important to make sure that the committee knows that this is another regulation that's going to be happening, especially as we start to do outreach to fleets. They may start asking questions about this. Well, what happens if this, and what about that? So this might be something that we look to revisit later down the road if our efforts to replace trucks don't utilize all of the allocated funds. We may want to circle back around to this and see if there are some opportunities to assist fleets in getting repairs done to their compliant trucks to ensure that they are the cleanest possible for that truck. So I'm just going to plant that seed, and we'll water it over the next several months and see where it goes. But beyond that, I don't think we're really ready to look at doing something with this, but I think it's valuable to know that it is upon us and that we may start hearing fleets ask questions about it.
Yeah, and I've attended like training on that, and anybody can attend it. I had a link to the trainings, but yeah, on our heavy duty training program, there is a new HDMI stuff. So it goes over the whole regulation, and then, you know, there's usually a lot of truckers in the audience, and you can hear their questions and see where it's going. So I recommend looking into the HDMI training.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem with me being on the phone. I can't really provide a link.
That's okay. We can definitely track down some of those links and share them with the members.
Yeah, it's called MS 510 is the training program for it. Okay. And it looks like
I got it.
The last one was in November, so I'm sure they'll be having some coming up.
So I dropped a link into the chat. It looks like, oh, they just have the November 3rd, which is already passed on there. Yeah. But I would imagine this link will be updated. This page will be updated as new dates are added.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a thought to consider. My question is, I know that we can't use the truck replacement money to help them help the trucks get into compliance, right? So is there any kind of setback like that when it comes to being able to move some of the money to help trucks meet the heavy duty inspection?
Like to help with repairs rather than a brand new truck?
Just curious if there's that kind of barrier as well, or potential for that, so we just don't run into the same problem we're kind of facing now.
That I do not know that answer.
Yeah, so the only thing I can say is that in our pilot program, working with CARB on a pilot, the intent of the pilot was to figure out how to create a program to do just that, a repair program to complement this regulation. So I think that now I don't know what CARB's final conclusion was on that, but I think that there was very heavy discussion and thought being put in on CARB's side on the feasibility of grant programs to help with repair. I can say that CARB does fund the light duty side of things. I shouldn't say CARB. There is state funding for the light duty side of things, and there are regulations on, you know, smog for light duty vehicles, and repair programs do currently operate for that. So I think we might have a good case. It would definitely require an extensive project plan. My thought is that we would start with modeling it after the pilot program, and then build on it from there. So it definitely would not be an easy process, but to your question, Cynthia, I think that there definitely could be discussions later on about the feasibility of that, especially if somebody applies for incentive funding to repair their vehicle before they get caught operating it out of compliance. So really, in my mind, the way you circumvent the paying for compliance issue is that you are targeting people before they are, you know, like right when the breakdown happens. So that way they're not running their vehicle continually in a bad state of repair, but you're catching them right when they get to the shop, and or right when they've identified that there's a problem, and helping them to stay in compliance before they get to the point where now they've been operating out of compliance. So I guess there's a very fine line there, and it could be very gray area, but I think that might be something, if we get to that point later on next year, that we, you know, could invite some additional CARB staff that would be, you know, directly working on this particular regulation to help us better understand it.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks. Yeah, just maybe that's something, Eric, would you be able to potentially, you know, or Janine or anybody look into it a little bit more for the next subcommittee meeting? I'd like to know what that planning might look like, if that's something we're interested in doing, because I know we have a pretty tight deadline to try to get some of this money out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can definitely do a little outreach to CARB staff to see, you know, who would be the appropriate contact person, and see if we can get somebody to come attend maybe the next meeting, and help provide some more information on what it will look like to fleets and such. So, and Eric, by all means, if you know somebody over there.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize a couple of these names. I can definitely call
Okay.
and talk to them. But a lot of my contacts are enforcement related, so the incentive
Yeah.
side of things
Well, I don't think there's anybody on the incentive side with this yet. I think it would be an enforcement. It would probably be, and that's who we worked with on the pilot program. It was enforcement staff, which was really odd because they had no idea about running a grant program, and they're like, well, just do this and this. I'm like, yeah, no, you can't. So yeah, you know, an enforcement may actually be a good person to bring in, because I think really what would be beneficial is to understand the regulation in a little bit more detail, and what implications it will have for fleets within the community. And then from there, maybe we can make a better determination if potential assistance could be beneficial or not.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sitting right next to the person's desk here today. I'm in the office today, and he's not in. I think he was in the office yesterday because we were doing it once a week.
Leave a Post-it note on his desk.
Yeah, I could send him. I'll send him a message, and
okay,
I'm sure he'll point me in the right direction if it's not him. So
okay,
and then I'll get back to you.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that was all we really had to talk about today. So, you know, again, our truck program is open. It is accepting applications for all weight categories, class 4 through 8, 2010 engine model year and newer, going to zero emission or near zero emission. And it does have a higher funding cap for small fleets 10 or less trucks, they cap out at 80% versus 50% for the larger fleet. So that is currently open. And if we received an application that is located within the boundaries, by the way, we do map everything that comes in, we would look to utilize CAP funds for that. So at least in the short term, we've got a mechanism available if a fleet is ready to make that transition right now. So.
Cool.
So I guess that's it. Unless there's any further questions, we could probably wrap it up, call it a night, and slide our way into the weekend.
You're right, Janine.
One step.
Cynthia, did you have any questions, comments, or anything else you'd like to share before we end the meeting?
No, that sounds good. Yeah, definitely looking forward to having some follow-up conversation on the opportunities with the heavy duty inspection and maintenance program. But that sounds good to me. And like Janine said, we're one step closer to the weekend.
Yeah. So this is great. I guess we probably won't see each other again till January. So hopefully everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving and a safe and happy December holiday month. If there is a need, Cynthia, if you speak with some of the other community members and you guys feel that there's a need to get together in December, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we could definitely check on feasibility for that. If everybody is wanting to try to make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds good. And if not, could I just direct folks to you, Zong, to be able to answer the questions?
Sure. Yeah, they can email the ab617@valley-air.org email if they send any comments or questions in there. If not myself, then our team will definitely respond. And if I can't, for whatever reason, share the Jamboard, what I think I for sure can do is a PDF it, and I'll post it on the heavy duty trucks website page, because it has its own dedicated page, and I'll include it in the notes and for the meeting for today.
Sounds good. Thanks.
That's
everybody.
a good idea.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. That's a wrap for this meeting. Thank you so much to all of you for attending, and have a good one.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.